Hello everyone, and welcome to a video on the Casio CT-X3000 keyboard. And in this video I'm going to show you some little editing tips and tricks I've been having a go at with some of the organ tones on the keyboard. So let me start just by playing a few registrations that I've created using some of the organ tones. So those are just a few examples of some registrations that I've created where I've taken some of the organ tones that are preset into the instrument and then edited them slightly. So let me show you just some of the ideas that I've had as I've been trying to create some of these registrations. First of all, if we just look at the registrations, I've usually got two tones in the right hand area of the keyboard layered on top of each other. Let's go to another setting here. So this registration is made up of this tone here as upper 1 and this one as upper 2. And combined they sound like that. If I just get rid of one of them and then add the other layer back in. And then I've usually got a split for the left-hand side of the keyboard around about just below middle C. Where I've got a bass sound that's quite prominent because I like a full bass sound on the keyboard when I'm playing this sort of church type music. And I've also got below the keyboard an expression pedal which is controlling the volume across all of the sounds all at the same time. So you can adjust the volume like that. But other things you can do with the sounds, obviously you can alter the octaves that each of those tones is in. So if I go to the octave button here, upper 1 is just left on 0 and upper 2 is on 0, but if I adjust those, you know, we very quickly, even just with the same sounds, the same tones, can create quite a lot of variety in the registration. So that's one of the little tips and tricks you might like to have a go at. The other thing I've done is in the mixer section is I've pretty much made the sounds the same. I've put them on the same reverb setting. So to get to the mixer, you have to hold down that part mixer button there. And part 1 is the upper layer 1. And part 2 is upper layer 2. And I've left those pretty much on the same reverb setting. And then for part 3, which is the bass, I've just put a bit of reverb. I don't think you want too much, otherwise it will sound very muddy. So that works pretty well. And then volume settings, you can just adjust those whatever suits. So at the moment, part 2 is louder, set to a louder volume than part 1, upper 1. But if I bring up upper 1, again it brings up quite a bit of variety in the sound. So you can make adjustments like that, and there's lots of variety you can create with the sound. And then if we just go into the function menu and look for controller, press enter, and then under pedal press enter again. One of the really nice features on the keyboard that really you don't get in any other keyboard in this sort of price range is that you can put an expression pedal in. So pedal number 2 is set to an expression pedal. And you can enable that for any of the parts. So at the moment, both part upper 1, upper 2, upper and lower 1, the 3 parts that I've got part of this registration, they're all being affected when I move the expression pedal with my foot. They're all moving at the same rate in terms of volume. But you can change that. So, for instance, if I turn it off for lower 1, now the bass isn't being affected as I move the pedal with my foot, but the upper, the right-hand parts are changing in volume. Or you could have for instance, you could have upper 2 being affected and leave upper 1 without the expression pedal. So that sound is always going to be there, but you can kind of fade in the upper 2. For very interesting effects. So let's just go away from registrations a little bit and just have a look at the sounds themselves and how to edit those. Let's get rid of all the splits. So here is one sound that I've got. And here's another one. Let's bring the octave down as well while we're here. This one I had a go at was just trying to create an interesting sound. Wasn't too keen on it, but saved it. Here's another organ. So all of these are just edits of the built-in preset tones. Not that one. This one is more of a pipe organ. And what I try and do is, well, if I show you, if I get one of the organ tones, to get to the organ tones, you either just type in a number or you can use the category button, find the organ category, which is number 3. And then it comes up with the first sound eventually. And a lot of the sounds are sort of rock and jazz biased, like that one. There's not very many classical organ sounds or church organ sounds. There's these pipe organs. There's about 3 of those. And this chapel organ is quite nice. And then we're into other types of organs from sort of cinema, theatre settings. So what you do is really just find one that you quite like the sound of. I think I picked this tremolo organ. And how to go at editing that. So to edit the sound, you do a long press on the edit button. You've got various parameters you can adjust: attack time, release time, cutoff frequency you might want to adjust because this will affect the brightness of the sound. So as I'm going below, a lot of the settings are set in a sort of middle range, 64, and you either go above 64 or below 64 to make changes. So we can hear as I move that, bring those values down, we're losing the kind of brightness in the sound. Resonance as well can affect the tone. On the vibrato side, I tend to leave that turned off or reduce it to 0. You can hear a bit of a kind of, not a vibrato, but a tremolo sound at the moment because that's part of the effect. We'll get to that in a minute. Let's come away from there. So after vibrato, we've got our octave shift. So you can shift the octave here. But as I showed you earlier, you can also do that within your registration as well. Volume, I usually bring the volume up to maximum so that when I'm mixing, I've got plenty of headroom to make adjustments and balance the 2 tones together. I'll get rid of the velocity because organs don't have usually velocity sensitive keyboards. So we just want it to not respond to velocity. So you can bring that down to 0. Notice it goes below 0, so there's a negative value. So no matter how hard you press the keys now, the volume will always stay the same. Reverb, I tend to get rid of here as well. Prefer to put it into the mix. If you press 0, number, and then a couple of numbers, or three zeros, we'll turn that off. I'll get rid of the chorus as well and any delay settings there. Now we move on to DSP effects, and these are combinations of effects or single effects sometimes. And at the moment it's set to 1, so if I turn it off, you can now hear that the sound is more straight and not tremolo from side to side. And also on the display where it says DSP tone, that little marker there will disappear when I turn the DSP effect off. If you do want to use a DSP effect, well, that's fine too. But, you know, I'm just trying to create more kind of plain organ sounds that I can use in a church setting. The DSPs are programmed for particular instruments. There are preset ones, and these are combinations of effects sort of strung together. You can look them up in the manual. Some of them are single effects. Some of them are combinations or chains of effects. And if we go to the other end of it, at the end of the scale, some of them are just single effects like this, EQ. So there's a modulation tremolo effect. And if I press enter, you can see it's actually made up of a combination of effects, chain of effects, phaser, chorus, flanger, and then the tremolo itself. And you can turn each one of those on and off or bypass them. Like this. So chorus is now going to be bypassed, flanger's bypassed, and tremolo is still on. And then we've got various settings if you want to adjust just tremolo. But I tend to leave all of the DSP effect off if I'm just trying to create a kind of plain church organ sound. So let's come away from there. And then once you've done your editing, you do a long press on record stop. Sorry, no you don't. When you've done your editing, you press right and it will say, are you sure? And you say yes. And then it will write that into the next available user tone. And if I come out of there, this one is now called 829 and it's not got a name yet. So this is where you do a long press on the record stop button to name your sound. Once you've done that, it'll say tone name, or you can copy, or you can clear, but we're going to name. So we press enter, and now you can use the dial to name that particular tone. Let's just quickly give it a name like org, short for organ. You can delete characters up there like that, and we'll give it a number. Let's give it a number, let's call it 2, and then once you're happy with that, you can press enter again. It says, are you sure? And you say yes. And now 829 is called organ 2. And I can now create a registration, include that sound. So if I want to do a layered sound, I could layer it with one of the other sounds, or you could layer it with itself. And you could adjust the octaves, relative octaves between them. And in the mixer you can adjust the volumes between them as well. And then once you're happy with that registration, choose the bank that you want to store it in. We'll put it in number 3, hold down store, and then press one of the registration buttons. We'll put it in number 8. So now I've got a bank of registrations all ready to go. This is number 8, the one we just created. And it's really convenient having them on the registrations, because when you're playing, you can change registration. So I hope that's given you a few ideas if you want to have a go at editing some of the organ tones and then creating registrations from them. Thanks for watching.